Namaste and welcome to Dragonfly Cookery and Knives. I've been at home recuperating from surgery that I had back in January. It was foot surgery and it's come along rather nice. And then we've ended up in this horrible situation of a pandemic that is affecting people all over the world with this coronavirus. And as you know, all of us have been sent home. Many of us are out of work unless we're in the grocery store business, like, whether it be Walmart or Stater Brothers or whatever stores in your area, along with the medical offices and pharmacies. And here in California, we have the fast food services that are still open where you can do a drive-through or you can have food delivered to you. But going to a restaurant is definitely out of the question. My full-time job is working in the entertainment industry, and right now we're taking some time off of work until this passes. It is during this time of recuperation, I've spent a lot of time watching different videos and reading books and doing a lot of various different activities to take up my time. And I came across this one video. And I think it's a very relevant video, especially now, and especially with what I witnessed during this time that this pandemic crisis was first coming to America, and people were becoming aware of it. Going to the grocery store, all the bottled waters were gone, toiletry was gone, hand sanitizers, air sanitizers, aerosol sprays, the wipes, even rubbing alcohol, all of that disappeared, and rather quickly. And to witness people doing this, and a lot of them were hoarding it. They were taking more than what they personally would need to survive even for several months, and they were just cleaning the stores out. And for a lot of people, and especially elderly people who didn't get around that much, this was causing quite a problem. Another thing is I went to I do have firearms in my household. I used to do cowboy action shooting quite a bit and do a lot of target practicing. And so I went to the Big Five Sporting Goods in our area and to purchase some a little bit of ammo of some of the guns that I have that I was running low on. And I was standing in a long line of people who were there to buy ammo or to get registered, take the test so that they could buy a gun. And that really piqued my interest and really alerted me to how serious people are taking this. Well, I used to be really quite an advocate about having a bug out kit, and I lived in a rural area and I was a fireman, and I had participated in helping folks do evacuations during times of fire up in the rural area. So I know how critical and how important it is to have a kit put together that you could grab and run out the door if you need to without much thought. It's already put together. So that way you could survive for at least 72 hours. And in most fire situations or something like that, that first 72 hours is very critical, because you're getting located into the evacuation area, you're trying to find out how long is it going to take, how long are you going to be gone, and you can start making preparations in that 72-hour period of where you're going to stay if it ends up being much longer than you anticipated. So having that bug out kit is really important. Well, some of the things that go into a bug out kit are knives. They're very important, useful tools, especially if you're living in a rural area and you get evacuated to a campground where you have to pitch a tent, and you might have to process firewood or maybe even build a shelter. And having a really good knife in your kit is very essential and can be a true survival tool. So for those of you who are curious or interested about cookeries, maybe even saw the same video I did, and are really wanting to seriously consider putting a cookery as one of the tools that you're going to put in your survival kit or in your camp kit or hunting kit, whatever kit that you may be putting together, then I hope that this video will be of benefit for you. Now, I wrote down something here, and bear with me, I am going to read it because it keeps it right to the point and kind of gives some of the motivating factors of why I'm doing this top 10 list. Okay, the top 10 best cookeries. I watched a video recently of a young man who made his list of what he felt were the best and top 10 cookeries available. I found myself disagreeing with 90% of his pick. First, he was only considering mostly production cookery, with one exception of a handmade cookery from Nepal, and that was not even the best Nepalese cookery available. He no doubt went to Amazon, found it, bought it, and that became his representation, or what he was going to put in his top 10 list, is one original handmade cookery from Nepal. It was more like an honorable mention since he is talking about cookeries. I realize that this, of course, is highly subjective and is only his opinion based upon the knowledge and experience he has with cookeries. Because I so passionately disagreed with his choices, I felt challenged to chime in with my list of the top 10 cookery. After all, thinking to myself, I could make this list with my eyes closed, and all of those in that list with my eyes closed would be better than his. Yes, I plunged right into my ego. Once I started to seriously make a list, however, did the realization set in on this momentous task. I was quickly humbled, to say the least. Putting aside my ego and pride, I took a more serious look at this question as to what are the best cookeries available for folks to purchase with their hard-earned money. I thought to myself, before I make this video, I better set some real guidelines and criteria, or it will be just another judgmental, opinionated video about why my favorite color is blue and all other colors suck type of video. We have enough of those out there. It is my intention to make videos that will be useful and beneficial to others, especially those who are considering buying their first knife, or in this case, their first cookery. That being my objective, to provide useful information which can positively be used as a guidance for others, I now find this task to be even more challenging. Because I own more cookeries than the average bear, and I have many favorites, also I collect, use, and sell cookery. I've even designed a few. So one can easily say I have a vested interest in tooting my own horn. And I will no doubt do a little tooting, but I work very hard to refrain from this activity as much as possible. So I have decided to make a list of what it means to be in the list of the top 10 cookeries, and why does this cookery over another cookery belong on this list, and others don't. The 3 F's, form follows function, and the philosophy of use will be a part of this guideline, or the motivation behind this criteria, this list of criteria. Inspired by Forge and Fire, there can only be one Forge and Fire champion. We will have a number 1 choice. However, in this case, any cookery mentioned in this top 10 list is a winner as far as I'm concerned, and a very excellent choice if one is considering buying their first and adding to their collection of cookery. Now, to try to keep, it's only me that's doing this evaluation of what I feel are the top 10. This is it's really coming from my opinion. But with that, I decided, and this is why it became more challenging, is I decided to make a criteria list. It has to, all of these elements of what makes a really good knife or what makes a really good useful tool will apply. Now, of course, this is very tool specific because we're talking about a kukri. So all of this will be applicable to that. And I came up with a list of 12 items. Now, these are the main items. Now, we did have some ties, and I had to do some tiebreakers, especially when I got into the handmade kukris from Nepal. I had a number of ties. And so I would have to come up with a sub-list. And that sub-list was a little bit more, it got more like, is the tang exposed a little bit, or is it just a little too, the handle just a little too rounded. I got a little bit more specific about it to try to break those ties and put them in this list in a numerical order. Okay, so this is my list. Okay, number 1 will be weight. Number 2, size. Number 3, materials, which would be the blade steel, handle material, scabbard material, and accessories, if there are any accessories that go along with it. Comfort of use is number 4. Number 5, performance. Number 6, eye appeal. Number 7, carry system. 8, strength and durability. 9, balance. 10, design, the 3 F's. How well does this tool meet with the philosophy of use and the 3 F's, which is form follows function? Does it do what it should have been designed to do? And there are some that kind of miss that mark quite a bit. Okay, and still ended up on this list, by the way. Okay, then sharpness, and then last but not least is the price. Is it a budget-friendly knife, or are you going to put out more money for it? And is it worth that value? Is it worth that amount? Okay. This is based upon my first-hand knowledge and experience with these kukri and the makers and builders of these kukri. There are many makers who make kukri that I do not own, have not held or used, which could be and without question should be in this list. Therefore, this list of the top 10 will remain fluid and subject to change as other contenders chime in. And the reason why I put that down and I wanted to emphasize that is because there are some new kukris that have come out. I'm even designed a new kukri that's going to be produced by a up-and-coming, very talented group of guys that are with Work Tough Gear that are producing excellent production knives, and they and myself are working together in producing a production kukri. That isn't out on the market yet, but that may become one of the ones that ends up in this contender list. But there's companies like Columbia Rivers that they hired a designer that designed a kukri for them, and I don't own that yet. I've read some reviews and seen the videos on the review of that knife, and it looks like it would be very good. There's some knives that I used to have that I've sold, like Tops has a kukri designed by a fellow that could have very easily been in this list, but I don't possess it anymore. So to give it fair consideration along with the other ones that are in the list, I really would only be going based on memory and not actually handling and using it currently. And so I try to make this list with kukri that I have at hand, that I can refamiliarize myself with as to why I liked it or why I didn't like it, how well it chopped, and keep all that information really fresh. So when I come to this list, I'm coming with fresh knowledge, not just based on memory. So Tops makes a very good kukri. Fox Knives, which is, I believe, manufactured in Italy. I do have one of the production kukris that didn't make it into this list, although it's a very competent kukri. Its handle design is a little too uncomfortable, which put it in the in like the top 12. It didn't put it in the top 10. But they have another one that they do make that follows the design elements very closely to what an actual kukri is and should be, that if I were testing that one, probably could have been in this top 10 list. So that just kind of gives you an idea that there are other makers out there that I have not had the chance to hold and use that could have made it in this list, but I went based on what I do have possession of, and I do have more than 10 production kukris. So out of all the ones I do have, I was able to put together this list. So I have thought to do a series of 3 videos on the top 10 subjects. One with the only handmade kukri from Nepal and the other top 10 of production kukris. Then combine the two with what are the top 10 from both lists. So I've already talked about that. In this list is supposed to be the best of the best. Regardless of how it was made or who made it, then all stops have to be pulled out and it must be held by the strictest guidelines. No ifs, ands, or buts. So that's why I went and put together this 12 points of criteria so I could keep it objective and not let it just be my emotional feelings about it. Production blades provide precise hardness and tempering and consistency that can't be matched by an authentic handmade kukri from Nepal. On the other hand, no 2 handmade kukris will look alike or act alike, even if they were made on the same day and they're the same kukri. They will possess their own uniqueness, so loved by those who collect and appreciate each kukri built by a master smithy known as a kami in Nepal. A quality completely void, and you won't find in any production kukri. There are some production companies that put a little bit more attention in it, like Bark Rivers, for instance. They're a small company, so there's a lot more hands that go on to it that are putting a little personal touch to it. I own a number of Bark River knives, and some of them are of the same type of knife, but they might have different handle materials, and yet they still have a certain uniqueness. No 2 are exactly the same. So that's a production company that comes as close to giving that quality of a handmade knife. But handmade knives have that unique fingerprint uniqueness to them. Every one is a little bit different and has its own special qualities. Okay. It is fully understood by myself that it still boils down to my opinion and remains highly subjective, being for the fact that I am only one person providing the results. So let this video be an inspiration to bring forth your own top 10 list and compare it with mine. Perhaps we will find that maybe 1 or 2 or more of the kukris that I have put in my list will also be in your list. And also keep in mind that this is fluid. Down the road, I might even have other friends or family members that can chime in and give their opinions as to what they feel are the best 10 out of the kukris I own. And we may have completely different results, and that might be an interesting video to do in the future. Not only that, like I said, as when we look at other production companies and they're coming out with their new products of kukris, or some of the ones that are already on the market that I haven't yet attained but will attain, then I can make a new list and add those in if I feel that they're worthy of being in a top 10 list. So again, it's very fluid. And by all means, create your own. Do your own video or whatever. And especially if I've provoked you by saying, "Hey, I disagree with that guy. I can come up with a better list than he can." There are certain brands, even in the handmade kukri, that could be in this list, but out of the ones that I own, they didn't make it. And but yet, they're very capable and very wonderful kukris. And if you owned one of them, it would service you a lifetime and then some, and would not fail you. So it wouldn't be a bad choice to put in a bug out gear or survival gear, or just for using it for camping or hiking or whatever your needs are. Hopefully you'll find this interesting. entertaining, but most importantly, valuable information that you will be able to take to the market and purchase your first kukri or add to your collection of kukris. So look for the next video that I'm going to do, which will be on production kukris and what I feel are the top 10. It won't be a very long video because I'm not going to go into tremendous detail. I'm just going to list them and kind of tell you a little bit about them, and show you which one I felt was ended up being the #1 choice, and hopefully give you some good information on that. Then following that will be the handmade kukris from Nepal, and I will do the same. And then the final one will be what are, out of production and handmade kukris, what are the best 10 available on the market that the consumer should give serious and high attention to when they're thinking about buying their first kukri. Please like and subscribe on my YouTube channel, and if you have any questions or there's a kukri that I haven't considered that you would like me to review in the future, please contact me on my Facebook page at Blue Dragonfly Trading Post and leave me a message there, and I'll be happy to take that into consideration and perhaps in the future do review or add it to a top 10 list. And by all means, please visit my website where I do sell handmade knives and kukris at dragonflykukriandknives.com. Thank you very much for watching. Stay tuned to the next video. Namaste. Stay safe and healthy, and stay home. Thank you. God bless.